Okay, While World Schooling came out with the cheapest places to live in the Caribbean, but they didn't mention about the tax laws. This is real important because you can go to a place that's real inexpensive to live, but then they tax the hell out of you, you lose 50% of your money. So, although the Caribbean does have a lot of countries that have really good tax laws, but I wanted to highlight this because a lot of people don't take this in consideration when you take off and move. And the Caribbean has some of the best weather of any place in the world. So these are some places I would strongly advise you to look at. And I'm going to give you my opinion because they do have some pluses and minuses in here. Now, they talk about the 12 beautiful places in the Caribbean where you can live for less than $1,000 a month. And, one of the places that they talked about here was Puerto Plata in Dominican Republic. Now, the DR is incredibly cheap. I would have to say that two of the countries they've got in here is Nicaragua and Dominican Republic. Now, Nicaragua does have a dictatorship, so you got to take that into consideration. And they both have good territorial tax laws. Dominican Republic, there are some extra forms you have to fill out to have that status of not being taxed on your worldwide income. But it is a corrupt country, one of the most corrupt countries in the Caribbean, if not the most corrupt. But it is incredibly cheap to live there, and they do have a territorial tax system in place. So that's something that you might want to look at there. But they talked about just because it's cheap doesn't mean that you'll be roughing it. They were talking about here in the article that Puerto Plata boasts gorgeous palm-lined beaches and lush tropical forests teeming with wildlife. You got the Ocean World Adventure Park, which is a top attraction in the city. It's an ideal spot for swimming. They talk about with the sharks and dolphins, although I don't think I'd want to be swimming with sharks. Another place here that they're talking about, which is incredibly cheap, I will agree with them, but the government's a little bit screwed up, and that's Nicaragua. And they're talking about San Juan del Sur, Nicaragua. And, San Juan del Sur is a laid-back surf town on Nicaragua's Pacific coast. This town is famous for its beautiful beaches, many of which are accessible at a little no cost. Manduras Beach, a popular surfing spot, is also perfect for sunbathing and walking along the shore. The Christ of the Mercy statue height provides panoramic views of the town and coastline, requiring only a small entrance fee. Also, folks, if you want to legally get around high income taxes or how to get a second passport as quick as 4 to 8 months, do three things. Hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen right here, and you get new videos automatically as they come out. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below and go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And folks, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you would, we don't monetize the station, and it helps us get this video out to more people. Now, that aside, San Juan del Sur's living cost is affordable. You can easily live here for $805 a month. And data by living cost shows that the cost of utilities and rent for a single person is about $428 a month. Now, another one, I've been this country too, and I didn't particularly like this area. It's David, Panama, and it's very cool there. That's one thing that is nice about it. It's one of the coolest places in Panama City, in Panama itself. Panama City is another place. The only place I would actually live myself, if I lived in Panama, would be Panama City in the Canal Zone. You could look at El Valle is another place which is in the mountains, but I think Panama City would be the only place I would like. David is a very boring place, but it is inexpensive if you like that type of lifestyle. And it is at the base of the mountains near the volcano. But they do have a territorial tax system in Panama, just like they do in Nicaragua, and also in the other one that I mentioned, the Dominican Republic. So of these three I've mentioned, all three have territorial tax systems. The Caribbean does that to lure a lot of people there. But it is in the Cherokee area there. Now, another one here that they listed that I don't particularly like is Colombia. I don't like Colombia, and I'll tell you for one reason. It is incredibly cheap. It's cheaper than Panama. But the problem with Colombia is they tax worldwide income if you live there. And I know 5 people that were friends of mine in Panama that lived in Colombia for at least 5 years. Every one of these people had either been robbed or kidnapped. Yeah, 2 of them had been kidnapped, literally. One of them was kidnapped by the FARC while he was there. He finally, after 11 days, he escaped from the back of a truck that he was riding on and got back to his house. But they literally kidnapped him right out of his house. I mean, this is how, and they were trying to hold him for ransom. I just don't like it for that many reasons. It's just not a place. But it is incredibly cheap. If you want to take a chance to live in there, it's up to you. I would not go that route. The next one is San Pedro Belize. Now, San Pedro Belize is a very quiet place. Belize is an English-speaking country. I would say the ones that's listed here, I would put it near the top. It's easy to get the passport. There's no test that you have to take to get the passport. The problem with Belize, you're going to have to, with Panama, you're going to have to relinquish all your other passports. Now, Nicaragua also requires that. Also, Nicaragua doesn't allow dual citizenship. So these are some things you have to think about. Dominican Republic does allow dual citizenship. You do have to pass the Spanish test there. Nicaragua does not. They waiver that now. But again, you would have to relinquish your other passports in Nicaragua. Belize, so it's neat. It's inexpensive. It's not quite as cheap as the other ones I've mentioned, but it is cheap. And they do allow dual citizenship. You can get the passport in about 7 years. So that's the thing I like about this. It has more of a comprehensive what I like. No test to get the passport. But the other ones you do for Nicaragua, you don't. You do also for Dominican Republic. So that's the thing I don't like about those countries. And you need to take this in consideration if you're looking to move to places cheap, because if you want to get that passport, you need to find out you have to take a test to do that, because that might throw you way off from getting this. Santiago de los Caballos, Dominican Republic, is another place. Dominican Republic has tons of places. That whole place is cheap. Even the main city there is going to be very, very inexpensive. So you're looking at, but you're looking at a very corrupt place. But I don't particularly like Dominican Republic because it is very corrupt. But if you want to go there and reside there and take a chance on trying to get the passport, that would be up to you there. But it is very, very cheap there. Grenada, Nicaragua is another place they listed. But again, Nicaragua, you're going to have to put up with the government there, because it is it's not a freely elected government. And to get the passport, again, you would have to relinquish your other citizenships. But it is incredibly cheap. I would put, as far as inexpensiveness, Nicaragua and Dominican Republic are probably the cheapest on here. Rosé, Dominica. Most people don't think of maybe Dominica as being inexpensive, but it is. Very, very cheap to live there. And Dominica does have a residency by investment program. You don't have to get the citizenship by investment. You can go there and be there for several years and apply for the passport. And it is very inexpensive. It's not as cheap as Dominican Republic and also Nicaragua, and it's not as cheap as Panama. So these are some things that I would be looking at there. And Dominica allows dual citizenship. The tax laws are okay. I've got another separate video on that, but it's not what I would call a pure territorial tax system, but they do have fairly good tax laws there. I would put St. Kitts by far over Dominica, though. And St. Kitts, in fact, I'm really surprised. St. Kitts is higher than these places, but St. Kitts has got a lot of visa-free travel, and they do have a residency program there too. But St. Kitts, you can live actually pretty cheap here. You can get an apartment for $500 US a month, believe it or not. Another one they listed here on here is San Fernando, Trinidad. Trinidad is very cheap. I've been there many times. It's almost as cheap as Dominican Republic. So, you know, this is a place, the thing I don't like about Trinidad, if you live there, they will tax you on your worldwide income. They got awful tax laws there. So, you know, they put here that it's cheap to live there. Yeah, but not when you include the taxes on here. So that's something you really have to think about. Leon, Nicaragua is another one. They've actually listed several here in Nicaragua as places that are cheap to live. Also, folks, you got to look at not just is it cheap, is it boring to live there? Nicaragua's got some places that are little out of the wall places that would probably drive you nuts. And probably very few people speak English in these places. So, Santo Domingo in Dominican Republic would be that's where I would live if I was going to live in Dominican Republic is in Dominican Republic is Santo Domingo, because you're going to have more people maybe that speak English, more things to do, and I mean that's what I would pick. But Los Tablos, Panama is another one. I've been there. It's incredibly boring. But again, Panama doesn't allow dual citizenship. They do have a great territorial tax system. But you would have to relinquish your other passports to get this. And to get the passport, you're going to have to pass a Spanish test. And Los Tablos is a very boring place, okay? But if you don't mind real quiet places with not much to do and very few people that speak English. But again, with Panama, to get that passport, you're going to have to pass a Spanish test to do that. Now, Cape Cocker, Belize, this is one I do like. Very quiet, very boring though, okay? But it is English speaking. It's a little island off the coast of Belize City, and it doesn't take you very long to get there. And Belize, again, allows dual citizenship. They've got a territorial tax system. And this is a neat place to go visit, maybe even live. But you can get the passport in about 7 years. And, the beaches are beautiful in Cape Cocker. I actually would prefer Ambergris, but Ambergris is more expensive than Cape Cocker. But it's not that much difference. But for what you get, I would much rather put Ambergris Cape, but they're not on this list. And they got beautiful snorkeling in Ambergris Cape. It's a beautiful place to live. And again, Belize does allow dual citizenship. That's the neat thing about it. And anyway, if you want to know more on this and how to legally get your income taxes to zero, how to get a second passport in 4 to 8 months, do 3 things, hit the subscribe button here at the right of your screen. You get new videos automatically as they come out. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and ask for some help. And again, give us a thumbs up, folks, if you like the video. It gets this video out to more people, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Take care.